That's right. Mary's not going to be here till 8. Well, should we start?
Okay, let's start.
It says we're live on YouTube, right? And it's recording.
Okay. So we
Okay.
can start now. Would you like me to pull up the agenda?
Sure.
So the meeting was called to order at 7:29. Is that what we're gonna say?
7:30.
Got it, 7:30.
Okay.
On the nose.
Welcome everybody at the meeting. At this point, Jill, okay, now.
Here we go.
All right, Jill, you have 2 more people in the waiting room.
Okay. I've just let them in. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Who else is it, just so I have them for the minutes? Lauren. And SLH PhD.
And Marcia.
Is that Shay? SLH, is that Shay?
That's me. Yep.
Got it.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, Michael. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Shay.
This is odd because the screen is Jill's screen. And my mouse doesn't do anything to it. Okay, why don't we start? I think we've got everybody here now who's going to be here. Mary's going to be late. She said she couldn't get here till 8 o'clock. So she'll join in when she can. Why don't we start? Well, first, everybody got the packets. There was more additional information that came today. Jill has put out a revised agenda. Everybody has it, or Jill's going to post the stuff as much as she can.
Yeah, I didn't get anything today.
I didn't get anything either.
I mean, it's probably there. I just was busy. I didn't get.
Sure.
Yep.
I understand. So, but Jill's going to put the documents up.
Okay.
and
Everything's
run through with
highlighted.
us.
That any changes
If
are
any
highlighted.
Changes are highlighted.
So you send it to me for my minutes, Jill?
Yes,
Yeah.
everything's been sent out.
Okay.
So why don't we begin with the approval of the minutes for the August 4th meeting? Which the August 4th was our public hearing, and then approving the budget. And an update on the COVID stuff.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
Bob seconds. I'm gonna put it this way. I'm gonna go for no votes. Is there anybody who votes no on approving? Now, Jill, when we do this, people can unmute themselves to say no, because I do not have all the pictures of people in front of me. Is that correct?
I believe you can all unmute yourselves.
Okay,
I
can you hear me now?
I hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, and
Mine was set up so that I could press the space bar to temporarily unmute myself.
mine, it just shows up on my picture.
Okay, well, if you want to vote no, I can't see nods, all the heads and all that. So we have to say you have to do that verbally. Not hearing any no's, the motion to approve the minutes from the August meeting are approved. Let's move right into treasurer's reports. Bob, did you get the supplemental stuff today?
No, I did. What was supplemental?
The supplemental was, we have to do the formality of approving the July off warrant, which is now all off warrant, but the July warrant.
Yeah, I prepared for that like a week ago, so I
Okay.
didn't know, but I kind of assumed that we were going to do that.
Okay. And do you see the agenda here? Let's try and go through
Yes.
them if we can in that order. I don't know if you can, but if you can, go through it in that order.
Or just let me know which one you're gonna do next
Okay.
and I'll pull up the correct document.
Okay,
All right, well, let's do the off warrant August 12th to September 9th first. Okay, the only item on that report that I would call your attention to is Judson Eaton. There's an expense on 8/21/20 of $5,524.40. That's for our library, that's for our painting contractor, and that is a 40% deposit towards the full cost of the contract. It's off warrant because of when the bill was received. Other than that, everything else on the off warrant is pretty much the same items that we see every month. Payroll, health insurance, National Grid, and Time Warner. So the Judson Eaton item is the only unusual one for that period. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
if not,
Then I'd ask for a motion to accept the off warrant expenses.
I make that motion. Can you hear me?
yes,
Yes.
okay. Any discussion? Do I have any negative votes?
Was there a second?
Oh, yeah, I guess I need a second first.
Mhm.
I'll
Do we
second.
have Okay, Shay second. Any discussion? If not, any negative votes? Not hearing any, motion carries. Next, Bob.
All right, well, so we'll do the July 18th to August 13th off warrant. And again, on that report, it's basically all the items that we see every month. There's nothing unusual at all on that.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't really have too much to report on that because it's
Okay.
basically the same thing that we have every month.
okay.
So can I get a motion to accept the off warrant expenses for August 13th?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Lynn, second. Anybody want a second?
Can I second it? I asked for the motion, so can I second it?
Sure.
Okay.
From now on, to make it work, I'll ask for the motion. So we've got enough. Okay, any further discussion? If not, any negative votes? Not hearing any, motion carries. Okay, next.
I'm not sure what this third item is, August
This
13th.
this is what would have been a warrant, but
For
since-
July.
for July, but since we didn't have a meeting and so nothing happened, it becomes a second off warrant.
Okay. I didn't have that listed as a off warrant, but I think I've got all the items, and I reviewed that with Vicky.
You did.
Yes, but I didn't realize that it was that we'd converted that to an off warrant report.
So if you
Yeah.
look for the $15,533.03, you probably have
Right.
that listed as an August 13th warrant. But because we
Yes.
didn't end up with the meeting,
We
Yeah,
have to
what-
convert it to
it's
off
just
warrant.
called an off
It has to
warrant.
be off warrant
Okay.
because it's
Okay.
all paid. And it's
Do I-
after the
Okay.
fact.
Rick, can you close my door when you come out? Or now? Thank you.
Do I
Um,
refer to that any different way?
Shay, you did that backwards.
Do I refer to that in any other way other than that it's just August 13th?
Refer to it as the August 13 off warrant 20, call it off warrant 2020. That's what's written on top of it.
Okay,
So on that, I would just highlight the following items, Baker and Taylor, $1,154.87 for books and shipping. Broad Arts, $3,999.32 for books and shipping. Envisionware, $725 for mobile printing services. Marshall Lazarus, $606.25 for adult programming, Your Career Fitness Matters. Nielsen Associates, $1,438.53 for mailing the 2020 newsletter. Overdrive, $3,185.79 for downloadable materials. And Uline, $1,540.66 for sign holders and bins for returns. And the total off warrant for that period was $15,533.03. The 2019 total for the same period was $24,115.97. So we spent $8,582.94 less than the same period in the prior year. Does anyone have any other questions?
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve that off warrant.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, do I have any negative votes on the approval of that warrant or off warrant? Not hearing anything, motion carries. Okay, next, Bob.
So then I guess we go to the warrant for September 8th. And I would just highlight the following items. AccuNetworks, $4,234, which includes $2,714 for support services, $840 for ConnectWise remote management and patching software, and $680 for online backup. B&L Control Services, $950 for cooling tower maintenance. Baker and Taylor, $1,554.15 for books and shipping. Janway USA, $1,233.76 for hand sanitizing stands. Nielsen Associates, $1,438.53 for mailing the 2020 newsletter. Overdrive, $3,394.34 for downloadable materials. And the 2020 total of we had a 2020 total of $2,054.29, and that is $3,401.74 less than the same time in the same period for the prior year.
Can you give me that number? It's the amount that it's less than last year?
Yeah, $3,401.74 less than the same period in the prior year.
3,401 and what cents?
74.
Okay, thanks.
So I think that we're controlling our spending very well during this period.
And I'm sure we're spending it on a lot of different things than we were a year ago.
We are, but overall, we're spending less than we did a year
Yeah.
ago. So can I ask for a motion to authorize the president to sign this warrant? Or does it, well, first of all, any discussion or questions?
Okay,
Okay, so can I ask for a motion to authorize the president to sign the warrant?
I'll move.
Okay,
okay. Do I have a
I'll second
second?
it.
Betty seconds it. Now, do I have any further discussion? If not, any negative votes? Okay, not hearing any, motion carries.
okay. We'll look at the P&L statement for September. And first looking at the income side, this time 69% of the year is over. General fines and fees are under budget at 25.3%. We all know what's happening there. We've suspended fines for the year, or we suspended fines at this time during the COVID crisis. Total fines and fees are also under budget at 23.8%, as our interest income is substantially under budget at 30.6%. And again, I think we all know the reason for that. Our total income is at 96.5% of budget because all of our public funds have been received. And then on the expense side, the following areas are over budget. IT hardware and software is over budget. Telecommunications is over budget. Periodicals are over budget. Nicelers is over budget because we basically paid the entire year for that already. Total personnel is slightly over budget at 69.8%, substantially because of Nicelers. And our total expenses are slightly over budget at 69.4%. Expenses that are under budget are total technology and communications, programming and planning, total books and materials, facilities expense, professional services, total operations, total salaries, and total operating expense are all under budget. Any
Okay.
questions on the P&L?
Well, it is a different year from what we expected when we put the budget together, so
Yes,
we can,
Absolutely.
it's fully understandable what's happening. And I think as long as we look at the bottom line, 69.4 versus at 69% over, I think we're doing okay.
and you have to
More than
understand
okay.
also that some big expenses have been
Paid
fully
early.
paid for the year.
Yep,
So I think we're going to be in really good shape by year end.
yep. Holding our own. Okay,
So then looking at the balance sheet, our total gift and grant cash decreased by $1,861.20 from the prior month. The Pioneer operating account increased by $13,022.57. Pioneer public finance account decreased by $135,000 from the prior month. That's the account that we pay our expenses out of. Fund balance was essentially unchanged. Well, fund balance, the HER accounts, capital reserve, operating contingency reserve, And total fixed assets were basically unchanged from the prior month. And our total assets decreased by $123,660.60. Under liabilities and equity, retained earnings was unchanged from the prior month. Net income decreased by $123,660.50. Total equities decreased by total equity decreased by the same amount, $123,666.50. And total liabilities and equity decreased by the same amount. Any questions?
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial reports.
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, Betty.
Yeah.
Any further comments, questions, or anything related to the financial? If not, are there any dissenting votes on approval of the financial reports? Not hearing any, motion carries, financials are approved. Bob, do you have anything else?
No, not at this time.
Okay. That gets us to committee reports.
Oh.
Lynn, we'll start with admin.
Okay, we had our admin, and I was hoping Mary would be here by now so we could explain the whole relaxation of the face mask. But at our admin committee, we talked a lot about our first ever online candidate forum, and that did go very well, so that was good. And we talked a bit about the reopening as well. I mean, I think another piece that came up was the 2019 audit, which is at that time was almost done. And so we had proposed to invite the accountant to present his findings to the board in the October board meeting. And lastly, that Mary Harris and the service committee are taking on the bylaws revision.
Okay, Jill, are we still on target with the accountant?
I believe so. There's been questions going back and forth. I haven't received anything final from the accountant, but Vicky said that they're continuing to move forward. She's answered any questions right away.
Yeah, and he's going to send us draft findings before making it final, right?
Yep,
Okay.
and I'll send it as soon as I get it.
Okay. Anybody have anything else for Lynn and the administrative committee? Okay. Mary's not here. We'll see. There was no meeting, but we'll see if she has anything to update us on for service when Mary arrives. Okay, that gets us, Jill, to the director's report.
Okay. Well, the most recent thing, of course, is the election. We had a positive election this year. 6-1 pass, 286 yeses and 50 noes. The turnout with 336 votes was still low, but it was higher than previous years. I did put in my director's report a chart. So if you wanted to take a closer look at all of that, you could really try to come up with some patterns. Because we've talked over the past couple of years about trying to increase the voter turnout, and it looks like despite budget shifts and changes, we're not seeing huge shifts in the number of people that come out for the vote, but we are seeing a little bit of a the more candidates there are for trustee positions, it looks like that was absolutely something that was helpful with turnout this year. So Despite the pandemic, we still had 336 people come, which is great. And really only about 40 of them were absentee ballots. So most of them were actually in person.
And there was no Friends help to get the vote out this year.
Right.
So this is totally by what's come along our social media and online stuff and so on.
Right. I did include a bunch of links to, so you could go directly from the director's report into any of the newspaper articles or the recording of the trustee candidate forum, the budget information. There was a couple of radio spots on there, as well as the Skodak presentation. So if you wanted to look at any of that, you can see those links through the director's report. Couple of projects we have. We've got Irene Samuels, who many of you know because she has run our AARP tax aid program for a long time. She is struggling with some health issues right now, unfortunately, very sadly. And she has decided to donate quite a few of her favorite plants from her personal gardens to the library. So the garden club, who has already planted some plants, and that was with Susan Sagrin, who Sagrin, I believe is how you pronounce it. She is the president of the garden club, and Irene is also a member of the garden club as well. So they have been planting in front of the library all season. They came, the entire garden, or a few members of the garden club came. There are about 5 or 6 of them that came and planted Irene's plants in the garden. They are being watered every day. They look under the drive-through. We've been reassured that they should come up nicely next year, but it's because of timing. It's not going to look that great this year, but it should be quite nice. The other piece of garden news, which is exciting, is Diane DiGiorno. She's a library patron. She is getting ready to transplant a butterfly garden out in front of the library as well. So there'll be a butterfly bush that'll be right where there's a pot behind the flagpole and some other plants that will be intermixed with what the garden club has done. So next spring should look really nice out there. You saw in the budget or in the finances that we made our first payment to the painter. The painter has been in painting, and he started with the interior upper level, and that salmon pink color is now a really lovely blue, and we're getting lots of nice comments on that. It fits in quite nice. So that's, the painting should be done relatively soon. The only tricky part that we're having is right above the circulation desk. It goes really tall there, and there's no way to work. He's trying to figure out how to get, the lift won't get back there, and even ladders with the silver metal decorative areas there. So we're gonna have to get a little creative and see what's going on, how to get back there. Don't forget to go to the farmers market. We've got 2 more markets. Tomorrow is the second to last one. It's been a great year for the farmers market, so please don't forget to stop by. There's some other programs that are upcoming programs that are listed here in my report. But one of the things that I wanted to draw your attention to is this piece here. There is a visual with some stats from when we shut down to reopening. We've been, since we reopened, this is what we've done by the numbers. So since March, 460 hours, or actually since June, 460 hours, 68 days at the library. 9.9 thousand people have come to the library, and 51% of them are through the drive-through window. We are still seeing that the drive-through window is the busiest piece. That's where people are using us the most. 61.4 thousand items have been borrowed. 615 summer reading participants. We've provided 104 virtual programs, answered 1,795 reference questions, issued 132 cards, and now we've started lending laptops and hotspots. We are
Yeah.
going to,
Can
Yep.
I just, but how does that 132, that just seems like a lot of cards, is
a
that?
lot,
Okay.
Yep.
Good. Well,
a lot. We're issuing a lot more library cards.
Jill,
A
how
lot
do,
of people have been using our digital services.
how do those numbers compare to a similar period in the prior year? Can you,
I have not looked at it in that
I mean,
in
obviously,
that capacity.
it's going to be less, but I'm just
It's
curious
going
as
to be
how much.
less. Yeah, I haven't looked at it that closely in that capacity. But you will see soon. We're working on our master stat sheet, which the stats will be in there, and you can compare them by month.
Mhm.
So these are specific days, not actual month. But I know that our circulation is down, our visits are significantly down, the number of hours are down significantly, library cards is up. Programs, I'm not sure if they're up or down. I would assume they're down, but these are all virtual, so it's really a different kind of thing. And summer reading, I'll have to look at what the summer reading was the previous year. Summer reading was very different this year too.
Yeah.
But there's some really great reports in here. The Adult Services Department talked about their summer reading, all about what they did. It was really all virtual this summer. I was thrilled to see so many people that participated in this. This included the adults, the children, and staff participating in summer reading. Kids who read, I think it's 45 days in a row, got a lawn sign that they could put in their yard saying "Super Summer Reader lives here," which was really great. There's a lot of, this is a long report because it encompasses the entire summer. You can see some of the breakdowns in here, like reference statistics here, and you can see a list of all of the programs, what kind of programs were popular. The book chat, Monday night book chat, has been a really terrific program that's continuing. You'll see how many people are continuing in that program there. Let's see if I can scooch down to the youth services. This is the lawn sign. This is what the lawn sign looks like here. Super Summer Reader lives here. Yeah. Did someone have a question?
No, I just, I wasn't muted. I thought it looked cute.
Oh. The craft this week is really cute too. It's we've been handing out all kinds of hands-on crafts through the drive-through window to kids. And the craft this week is a Charlie craft with a little balloon that looks like the nose of the elephant. It's this elephant here, our new mascot that one of the kids created at the library. It's really sweet. So 400 plus kids and teens logged more than 7,780 days of reading. And that to think that that many kids were reading this summer, despite not having any in-person programming at the library, to me is a huge win. And they had to log all of their reading online. It's a huge, I think we can say that we did a great job with summer reading this summer. Staff were able to connect and create community and make those connections despite not having a bunch of people in the building. Even though we were open, it wasn't the gathering spot that it always has been. It's really been a lot more of the gathering has happened online, virtually, and the in-person stuff has been transactional in nature, just checking out items. I can say that these book bundles that the youth services and the adult services department are putting together, these readers advisory kind of kits where you can fill out what your interests are, and librarians will choose books for you. That has been huge as well, because families can get some personalized reading recommendations for them. Did anybody have any questions about what's in the director's report? This is all in posted on
There's a lot
the
there.
library calendar. There's a lot here. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is the notion that this summer the kids was focusing on reading every day versus reading so much, was that like an Upper Hudson, or it was just your guys, our
That
library?
was just us.
I
Yeah.
love that. I think that's such a great idea. I just, because that's what makes you a reader, I think, isn't it? Habit, new habit. So, good idea.
Yeah, we have by far the best children's department in the system, I think. Any other questions?
No.
Okay,
Oops.
thank you, Jill. Before I see Mary is here now. Mary, can you hear us? Unmute yourself if you can.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Mary,
Of course, now I lost the picture.
I lost you.
I
can
see
hear
it,
you.
Oh,
Bob.
wait, maybe, no, you moved up on the screen. I guess they
see
do
my
all
name
the
though.
pictured ones first, but it's your name only.
Let's see. There we go.
There you go.
Hi, Mary.
Hello. My dog joined us too. Sorry.
Okay, Mary, you see we're on the agenda down at the director's report. So we passed service committee. I know you had no meeting, but is there anything to report?
Well, the only thing I wanted to mention was that for the next service committee meeting, I'm working on some edits or suggested edits for the bylaws. So the plan is to send those to Shay and Betty, my co-committee members. And then hopefully we'll have something, well, we will have a draft for the board to consider at our next meeting. And then I also wanted to just check in on, so now that we have the elections passed and we have new trustees coming, I didn't know if it was up to, if there was a committee that should be looking at setting up like a familiarization training for new trustees, or if that's something that the library would do. So I just wanted to
Well,
throw.
there's a couple. One is there's the Upper Hudson orientation
Mhm.
that you finally went to not long ago, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
There's that. And then in general, we bring them in and we talk to them. It's more informal. It's not a real formal process.
Okay.
We do invite them to all the board meetings, and I think Jill did invite them to this board meeting.
Okay,
the two that were the elected ones.
I would like to suggest that you do have a formal training for new board members. I think it makes it easier for somebody joining the board to have some type of background, because I didn't have a formal introduction or training, and it took a while to figure out what was going on. So I think it would really be helpful for new board members. I've served on other boards where I've had, training before I even attended any of the meetings, and I found that really helpful.
Okay,
Mhm.
I agree,
That was-
Betty. I think it's a good idea.
I-
So what I'll do is Jill and I will put something together and do it with them.
I believe that was discussed in the context of the succession plan that was
Yeah.
being worked on earlier this year, and that was deferred because of the coronavirus crisis.
Mm.
So that was
But-
kind of deferred to next year, but that was an item that did come up in the succession plan that Lynn was working on.
And I think it will be especially important for these two, I mean, because they've really never even been to a board meeting. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people who come on board, they were with the friends or whatever, they've been to meetings, but
Right.
as far as I know, neither has ever attended any board meeting.
Yeah,
Board meetings.
all right. But I
put-
think Jill, you and I should do that. So
Yep.
we will do that. And we'll do that we'll see if we can do it with them. We'll find out their schedules, if we can do that before the next board meeting.
We can try to we'll definitely do it before January. If we
Yeah.
can do it in October or November might be easier.
Yeah,
But we do I've also started putting together some things based on when Bob came on. He had a list of vendors. He was interested in knowing who the vendors were that we use regularly. So we've got that list of vendors, and then I've got when Mary came on, there were just some questions that you had that I documented, that I have some stuff for a binder.
mhm.
yeah, it's good to
So
put
we
together a
have some
binder
stuff that we can put together in a binder, and then if we can set up a meeting, I think that's a good
and then just go through it with them.
start. Yep.
Yep.
So is it something where we should be reaching out as well for UHLS to see if they've got some training coming up as well, or?
I
They do
get,
that regularly.
yeah, and I get the notifications
Okay, good.
whenever they have it. So,
Yeah, because to be honest, I would like to go to the orientation of whatever you put
that
together.
we
for
do
them.
here, that we're going to put together? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be
You
happy
can
to.
just invite whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
There's a succession plan.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's all I had on the
Okay.
service.
Next.
plan.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is Jill,
Okay.
our COVID update, I guess, and getting us to the next level.
Yep. So I have, hang on, let me just pull things up here. Oops. Okay. So the rest of these documents here, you've all received these documents, and then as we went over email with some recommendations, I went through and made some changes that are highlighted here. So I'm just going to walk you through what the highlights are and what is the proposal before you today. So the proposal before you is to move, currently we're in service level 4, is to move to service level 5 on September 29th. And I'm gonna, service level 5 is documented on our reopening plan. So this document here is not anything different than our reopening plan. It just goes a little bit more in depth with what meets those categories. And what I tried to do was document what we're currently doing in this column versus what moving to service level 5 will look like here. and I kept them in the same categories as our reopening plan, so that if you wanted to refer back to the reopening plan, you could look back. So I've kept them in the categories of facilities, meetings, staffing, and services collections. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through that. So what this plan includes, I added this piece here, that service hours and details might change as demand and capacity shifts occur. A lot of the questions that were going back and forth over email were questions of regarding this, and the intention all along was that this was not this number of hours exist for the entirety of service level 5. So I wanted to make that clear here, that this could change within service level 5 if we need to. So there is an hours component to this, which is at the bottom of this document here, but I did put in here that the goal is really to gradually expand our hours, assuming that it meets our it meets the safety and the capacity of library staff, safety in the community, and the demand is there. So those are all things that we're trying to balance right now. And we're not seeing a huge demand right now for people coming through the door. We have our capacity counts at 15, and very rarely do we even get to 15. So, I mean, we could increase the capacity to 25 right now, and we're still not going to get that many people coming through the door. We could potentially add more hours, but we're not getting huge demand right now. So my recommendation is that it's a better use of our staffing capacity to be working on other things other than servicing so many service desks for so few people coming through the door, until we really see what the impact is with reopening schools. I think that's a huge piece for us, a huge unknown that hopefully will continue with a very low infection rate. If schools can show, the schools in New York can show that wearing masks and being in a facility, many people in a facility for a length of time, does not dramatically increase the infection rate, then I think that we're very safe increasing the number of people that can come into the building at once and the length of time that they stay in the building. The reason that we don't have people staying in the building for long time periods right now is because of the research out there that talks about the length of time that you share a space, but there's still so much that's unknown that hasn't been documented about the virus. So that's why we're holding off right now, why I'm holding off on my recommendation. I think we're going to know in the next 2 weeks. You know, school just started a week ago, and then you've got 2 weeks after that. So you start to see what happens. And so far it's looking good. There's 2 positives at the high school, but that's it. So hopefully we can stay there.
So Mary, this still has, I mean, we still have the possibility that you can go to 25 without any input from us, because we approved that with level 4. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So as soon as you feel comfortable with what's happening at the high school and or demand.
Yep.
Because I did actually talk to somebody who said I had to wait 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. On a Saturday.
Oh,
Go in?
Yep.
interesting. It must have been right at the opening time or right at the closing
was.
time.
It was right at the opening time.
It does not matter when we opened at 9, when we opened at 11, when we opened at 2. There's always a line at opening time. It's just like this weird psychological thing that people wait in line.
Mhm.
I would never come to the library at the opening hour. You're going to find a line at the drive-through window too. It doesn't matter when we change the time. Same thing will happen.
The only thing, Jill, that I would suggest here,
Mhm.
and you got to sort of do it when you can and so on, is here, the 5 hours of increase, as I see it, is 1 hour at the book pickup on Wednesday, extending till 7, right? Or also inside, I guess. But the other 4 hours are just returns being accepted on Mondays.
Yeah, so we'll go down to the hours after, because that goes, we
Okay.
go more in depth further down in the document. Okay,
Okay,
the first thing on this document, so this just talks about gradually expanding the hours. But the big piece of moving to service level 5, the hours are not really a different, that doesn't, that's something that we're continuously looking at and trying to tweak and make the hours the right hours. But what we're adding in service level 5 is we're adding limited seating and we're adding computers. So the computers, the way that we're starting here is 4 30-minute terminals for walk-ins and then 2 1-hour appointments for educational purposes, employment purposes. This could change. I mean, we're starting with this just to make sure that we know what our capacity is. This could all shift and change. There's a document further on that we can go into more depth about what computers look like. Laptops and hotspots. So the other piece that we're going to do here is we're going to begin accepting payment for print, copy, scan, fax. Originally, I had put in here 5 copies free daily because right now we are offering 5 copies daily. We do have print, copy, scan, fax right now, and we are offering 5 daily free because we were not accepting payment, and anybody who needed more than that was encouraged to go to Staples. And we were hoping that we could just continue to do the 5 free daily, but unfortunately the software doesn't allow us to do that. It's either all free or we charge for everything. So since we are beginning to offer computers, I don't think it would be, I don't think it's a good idea to limit ourselves to 5 copies, and we could be in some serious debt if we let everybody print for free at the library. So my recommendation is that we begin accepting payment the same as we've always done now for the print, copy, scan, fax. And we will be accepting payment only at the circulation desk right now. So we'll have 1 register, and you can of course pay by credit card or by cash. We
Jill,
will
can I
grad.
ask you a question about that?
Sure.
So was it always 5 copies free, or was this just a pandemic thing?
This was just a pandemic thing.
Okay. So people are not going to expect it. I mean, it was just something. Okay.
No, we've never provided free copies.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So that's just been for the past maybe 3 weeks.
Okay.
Let's see. So we will gradually reintroduce seating, and we're looking at 1 seat per table right now. Right now, there's no seating at all at the library. So we'll start with 1 seat per table, and then we'll gradually reintroduce that. Then if we move down to meetings, still no public use of the meeting rooms, except for by law. We've had the elections and assisting with the health emergency, we did the blood drive. But I added in here that we can hold the library board meetings now. So ideally we will start next month holding our library board meeting in person. We'll still provide virtual access to the board meetings. And I think it'll be up to the board to decide, do we want to invite the public, a limited number of the public to sit in at the board meeting, or do we want just the board to be at the board meeting and stream the meeting publicly for the public? Lynn?
No, I was just, when you said that you'd still be streaming it, but it would go back to the fact that board members must be present for their vote to count, correct? Because that's what's in our bylaws.
At this point, yes.
Is
I
that in
would
the
think so.
bylaws?
Is that in
Because,
the bylaws, Mary? I
Yes.
think so.
It is.
okay,
It's
and
one vote
as,
if you're present.
as long as the state law doesn't supersede it. So if the governor is allowing people to participate in virtually boards, then we can still have board members who wanted to participate virtually. Once that changes legally,
Right.
you can participate as a board member virtually if you publish your location wherever you are as a meeting location.
Mhm.
So we would have to, on the agenda, have your home address or wherever you are on the agenda if the governor is no longer allowing
Right.
virtual meetings. Have not heard that that's going away anytime soon. He seems to keep renewing it every month.
Right.
I think we have to look at it in a little more depth.
So this gives us the ability to do either.
Yeah,
Right.
but I think I don't know if you can have the mix.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can look at that.
Yeah,
You don't have to look at it for me. I just was curious. I just was reminded that the bylaws make it really clear you have to be present. So if somebody said, I don't feel comfortable coming to an on-site meeting, so as long as you're streaming it, I'll do it that way. I think our bylaws say their vote won't count.
and
So
I think that's what we have to look at and
Yeah.
really figure out.
Right.
Okay. So as we move into outdoor gatherings, and Mary, you had a few questions about the mask use, and we had an admin committee meeting where we talked about some different scenarios with people wearing masks, and what we talked about and agreed at the admin committee meeting was that if you're outside and you are that there's really not a reason to wear a mask unless you're in a large grouping.
Mhm.
I'll give you a few examples. There's someone who comes and uses our property and has sat in the middle of the grass all by himself
Mhm.
reading, and he'd love to do that. And a staff member, as they should, were following policy and protocol, and asked him to please put on a mask, and he's no longer coming back because we asked him to wear a mask, and there's nobody around sitting outside. We've got these beautiful grounds. We should encourage people to use the grounds, and there's a lot of people just don't even expect to need to wear a mask outside.
Mhm.
We did talk about when social distancing is not possible, then mask use would be enforced. So I changed after your email just to clarify. I took out the word encouraged and put required when in groups or when social distancing is not possible. And hopefully this is a little more clear for people that, if you're going to sit in a group or hang out with a bunch of people on library property, then you should wear a mask. But if so if teens are out on the patio or adults are outside doing, getting together with their friends, then there should be people should wear masks. But if you're not in a group, there's really no need to wear a mask.
Except for that doesn't account for people who come by themselves and there's other groups around them. So that to me, and I understand the one person who might want to come and not wear a mask, but then when other people show up in a group and they're not wearing their mask, and to me, it just seems like a bit of a slippery slope or difficult difficult thing to enforce if we have too many options. But I'll go with, the consensus,
I mean,
obviously.
I think we also were talking about staff and, and I guess when I think about it and you go to a retail store, if you walk in out of a retail store, half the people take off their masks the minute they clear the door, and, some don't. And I mean, I think it was just our consensus that you have a choice to stay, you yourself have the personal ability to socially distance or put a mask on.
Mhm.
And that it would kind of be a personal responsibility if you were walking into the walking around and suddenly there was a big crowd. I mean,
Mhm.
even I find I do that when I was at Indian Ladders today, and
Mhm.
when you're all alone, you don't need it, but when you get near more people, you put it on.
Mhm.
I think that was the idea,
Mhm.
to try to respect that when a person is just really by themselves
Yeah.
outside. And I actually think the wording is clear the way you revised it.
Okay.
I would say I'd rather see the staff focus on the indoor compliance than having to really split their focus and having to be looking outside. I mean, I think the indoor is much more important than the outdoors in terms of the making sure people are complying.
Right.
Point. Yep, that's a good point.
Okay.
Thanks.
This other piece in here, the library will begin working with community partners to determine how and in what capacity in-person outreach programs will resume in the next service category. Then we're working staffing, just that staff need to be trained on procedures for service level 6, just like right now, staff need to be trained on service level 5, and that's what's we're working on right now. So services collections, we talked here a little bit about the in-person capacity for the public. So right now we've got capacity is being recommended at 15 plus the computer appointments 20. So actually what we have decided, we had a meeting, and what we've decided to do is actually have our people counter be at 20. And if for whatever reason there's one extra with one of those 2 computer appointments, we're just gonna let them through at 21. So again, this whole capacity count, we need to continue to keep an eye on that. And I mean, at a minimum monthly, but we're looking at that. Those are the conversations that we have at our morning meetings. We have, a quick huddle. So socially distant huddle. Whoever's working in the building talks about that. Fines and fees. So collection of fees will begin in this service level.
How will that be communicated to the public?
It just means that so if someone needs a library card replacement, we'll start charging them for that now.
That's not late fees?
No,
That's not
those are
late
fines.
fees.
Okay.
Those are fines, overdue fines. Overdue fines are still waived for anything that's being checked out now.
Right.
People have been paying their fines all along with credit card or online for fines that existed before COVID or replacement items. So that still exists, but anything that's been checked out, that has been checked out since March, since the shutdown, the fines are being waived.
Okay.
And until we're not quarantining materials anymore and we don't have this, I would recommend that we continue with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I find I get notes fairly often, and it's hard because I get notes after I know I returned it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, that would be a nightmare if we had to.
be a challenge.
That would, right. So we will accept all types of payment at the circulation desk for old fines, fines and fees for specialty items. So we do have fines, however, for the laptops and the hotspots that we're lending right now, and museum passes or replacement items. So that's where the specialty items comes in. Or if somebody, someone from out of our service area wants a library card, they could purchase a library card now. Everything else here remains the same. Library visits, currently we say 15 to 30 minutes. We're going to take out the 15 minutes, but limited to 30 minutes, but 1 hour with computer reservations, limited seating and computers. That would be the language we use. And then again, this limit of 30 minutes is something that we need to reevaluate in the next couple of weeks. I think that is the one thing that people want. They want seating, computers, and they want to spend time in the building. But we have to make sure it's safe. So once we see the impact that reopening schools is having, we'll be able to make a better recommendation for that. Copy, fax, scan, print available for purchase. Notary service, we're going to start providing notary service again by appointment. Public seating, limited 1 seat per table. And that is the rest of that document. And now the next piece here is the hours proposal. And this would be where, for your consideration to increase our hours. It's a slight, very slight increase of hours, planned for October 5th, assuming we don't have any outbreaks. The only change would be that we would extend our hours on Wednesday nights until 7 o'clock. We're really not seeing any, there's been a request, and we'd like to kind of see what happens when we provide a little bit more evening hours. We have not, the request has been from the board, not from the public. And so we're really not seeing a demand for this yet, but so we're like to see by 1 hour, let's see what happens. And if there's demand for that, people are coming in, at 6 o'clock or 6:30, then maybe we could increase that time, but potentially multiple days or the time, but we'll start with 11 to 7. The other piece that we have here is that we will accept returns from 10 to 2. We have staff who are there right now, not enough staff to be able to open the building and service the building. They're doing work, but there's no reason that we can't accept returns while the public is there. So I'd like to be able to open the doors in the front to accept returns from 10 to 2 while our staff is there. And then, and as well as change the Saturday hours. Right now we're 9 to 1 and move that from 10 to 2. And ideally, we would like to, beginning on Mondays, I didn't put the day of the week here, drafts step 2, just because there were some questions about when are we going to add Mondays and what are we going to do. I'd like to add Mondays as soon as we can. There is a staffing capacity issue for sure, because we have additional service areas that we're covering with staff, and we have reduced availability because we don't have our full staff that we've always had. So it is a little bit trickier, but if we can start with drive-through service on October 19th on Mondays from 11 to 6, and then move to opening the doors to the public November 2nd. Tentatively right now, I'm not ready to completely commit to that because it's really early. But that's where I'm headed, and I'd like to move in that direction, planning there. Now, we may see some traffic patterns that shift with September. August has always been a little bit of a quiet month for us, quieter. July is crazy, then it starts to get quiet in August. We definitely saw that. And then the beginning of September is always really quiet because that's when school starts. So I don't think we're going to know real traffic patterns I'm not sure yet. So we're going to put this, I'd like to put that off a little bit. So what I do need you to decide on tonight is moving to service level 5, as well as the changing hours on October 5th, which would be accepting returns from 10 to 2 on Mondays, extending the library opening till 7 o'clock on Wednesdays, and then changing the hours on Saturdays from 9 to 1 to 10 to 2. Any questions about that?
So I should entertain a motion to approve Jill's Phase 5 transition, service level 5 transition plan as modified as presented, or presented as modified.
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Okay. A second,
I'll second.
Shay. Okay, anybody have any questions, any discussion on it?
I guess I just wonder because, if we've gotten the community used to 11 as the time you open, it just seems to me that on Monday, because then if you look at step 2, you're planning to go back to an 11. I'm not quite sure why you wouldn't just pick like 11 to 3 as the returns acceptable, just to be more consistent. I can sort of see why Saturdays, they've always, in the old days, pre-COVID, you opened at 10, I can get that. But I think I don't know, is there a reason why we would want it to be different start time than every other day? I just think it could be confusing.
It's a good point.
That's a good point. It could be confusing. Just trying to provide an earlier option, just like 7 o'clock as a later option, just an earlier option for people.
But it's just because you're looking in step 2 to go with the same schedule with everything else. I'm not sure it's, I don't know. I just think it could be confusing for people.
You think they should leave it at 9, opening at
No,
9?
no, this is the
11, just
returns
make it
on the
the
Mondays.
same. 11 to 3 on Mondays or something for the returns, just to, if you're looking at longer term, opening on Mondays at 11 anyway, just like every other days at 11, I would think you'd want your book returns to be in line with what your plan is, as opposed to having one day where it's an hour earlier. That just makes, because then a person like myself is going to come at 10 on Wednesday and say, but wait a minute. I don't know. It's a minor detail, but
I think it's valid.
I would keep it 11 to 2, not until 3, because this is a time when I can guarantee there's staff there and it's not going to be an issue.
yeah.
We do have maintenance that is doing
I think
hands-on
11 to
maintenance.
2 would be.
I mean, I think we could do it even earlier. We could do it 9 to 2. We could have returns open every single day.
Well, that would, see, to me, that would be even better.
We wouldn't open the doors.
Right. You
Not
just
get
have
the returns out there, but we wouldn't open the doors to the community. I could easily do that every single day at 9. Have returns. But again, that would be, it's just it's confusing.
Right.
I agree with you. It's confusing. Then we have to say, well, returns open at 9, but the building opens at 11.
Well, rather than adding that confusion, I think the communities, especially now that you're adding, at least you've got more hours that are after people's work day. I would think that 11 would be fine for now, as opposed to adding a whole lot of more burden to all of the staff. So that means every time before they leave, one day they got to set it up for the next morning and unlock the door. And
So does anybody oppose changing the return start time to 11 to 2?
No, I think it's a good idea.
It makes sense.
Now, if we opened the doors a little bit earlier than 11, would that be a problem?
no, I don't think it ever would be a
Okay.
problem that if somebody
You
just.
mean your published hours are 11 but somebody might be there, so they'll just open those doors at 10 or 10:30? Is that what you're saying, Jill?
Right, I'm just saying that maybe they'll just put the things out there early and
For the
Open the
returns.
doors for the returns,
Yeah.
but we can't, but we publish it as
The
11.
published is still the 11.
So that just changes, I think you're up
Just
earlier.
changes that
you
one
take
number there.
the Number of hours, because it's basically, you're taking an hour away.
Hmm.
So it's like 36 hours or something, I don't know. Yeah.
Where is that?
It's on the very
Top of
first
that.
page, the very first thing under.
36
Yeah,
hours.
37
36
becomes
days,
36.
36 hours. Okay. So we would need to revise the motion.
For book returns on Monday.
Lynn, you got that?
Got it.
Okay.
And it's 36 hours, not 37.
Mhm. Okay. I
So
can-
now we're approving it as presented and modified. And I have a motion. Who made the original motion?
I
Mary.
did. I did.
Mary. You have no objection to change to the adjustment to the motion?
No, not at all.
And Shay, I think you seconded it. He's good. Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, is there anybody dissenting on approving this? Any no votes? Not hearing any. Okay. Motion carries and good to go.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I think the other document here, this is the computer use plan and safety protocols. Again, this is what you already saw. I just added, highlighted here, subject to revision to make it agree with the other document. I did take out that greeter will subtract user from current door count. That was a meeting that we had with just a procedural piece there. There's nothing new here other than that. And oh, I see. And I took out the free printing. Free printing has been, and all copies will be paid at the circulation desk. So this will be a document that we, so I'll update this this is not something that you need to approve. This is just a document for the public, just for your information, but I will revise this, take out the crossouts and the yellow,
Update it, yep.
and post this document so that public knows what the public procedures are for the computers.
Okay, can I just ask 2 quick questions? I don't know, I saw OPAC and I'm sure it means something to people. What does that mean, OPAC?
That is the online public access catalog. So that's
Oh,
the
that's that stand up.
online card catalog,
Okay, online card catalog, okay.
but it's not really card catalog. It's a public access catalog, online public access catalog.
Yes,
that's
I
where
guess
you
card
search
catalog
for-
just makes me sound old, but okay. And then is there any this probably should have been discussed with that one. Is there enhanced cleaning of the chairs if you're going to put out chairs for the table? I saw you talk about the chairs for computers here. Like when you start putting out chairs for the public, what happens when they leave?
So that's part of the maintenance checklist. We'll have to add that to the maintenance checklist, that they are going around and cleaning the chairs regularly, but we cannot guarantee that they're going to be cleaned in between each use.
Right, no, I agree.
Wouldn't that also be part of the safety plan modifications?
I don't think it gets into that level of detail. It just talks about the maintenance checklist and that we are going to high touch points,
Mhm.
regularly clean high touch points. So I think that's already covered in the safety document, but we can look a little closer when we go up to that document and just make sure we didn't miss it.
I had a couple questions on this, and I didn't want to assume, is the welcome desk the same thing as the greeter desk?
Yes,
Okay,
we use that interchangeably.
okay. And then it says, when they return keyboard, mouse, librarian will remind them to check out at the welcome desk. What is that about, checking out?
Just because the welcome desk is keeping track of how many computers are available, what the capacity is. So just let them know that they're all done. Thanks for
Okay, okay.
when they
And
leave.
then, my other question too, where it says appointments, that the computers where people are making advance appointments to use them,
Mhm.
are you asking them what the reasons are? And so recreational users, I was just wondering why recreational users can't use a computer for an hour versus.
We're hoping that that's going to go away. It's just because right now we don't know how long, with only 2 computers
Mhm.
available for 1 hour use right now, we're trying to get as many people in here as possible. A lot of people are using it for recreational purposes. So there's a lot of 30 minutes so we can get people through the building. But people who really need to do something that if you're filling out a job application, you're not going to be able to do that in 30 minutes. If you're renewing a license, you're not going to be able to do that in 30 minutes. So you will need an hour. So it's kind of one of those questions that when people call or people can't come in, they ask, if they can use a computer, and we ask, we kind of do a little reference questioning with them, a reference interview with them with what they'd like to be doing. So we let them know that we have, we'll have 30 minute drop-in computer use, or if you were working on something like a job application, or, we have computers available for our jobs and employment and education purposes, and they're 1 hour appointments.
So you're
But hopefully
steering.
that can go away. I'd like to have that go away. Right now it's it's a limiting thing. And
Yeah,
it's a judgment call, and it's a value call that's not really in line with what we'd like to be doing.
right.
But, there is an absolute real need if you have no internet at home and you have no computer. And so we'd like to reserve some spots for people who really, truly need it. So that's where that is. But anybody who is an East Greenbush or Skodak patron can borrow a laptop to take home with them, as long as we have it.
Mhm.
And we don't know it's not.
If I were going to be rewriting this, on the top of page 2, it implies to me, the first bullet, that recreational users will be encouraged to borrow a laptop, which implies to me, right, but wouldn't we want to say any user? I mean, I would think if I were doing a resume, like I might be more comfortable. I just don't know that we would want that to say recreational users. I mean, I think that yes, they could go on the walk-in terminals, but I guess somehow the sentence "or encouraged to borrow a laptop," I would think any user who thinks they might need it for more than 30 or not 60 minutes might be encouraged to borrow one. if they're available.
Sure. Where is that?
It's a page 2, the very first bullet on my printout. It's under public use procedures for 1-hour computer terminals by appointment.
Oh, this is because the 1-hour appointment. So if anybody,
Available.
if they're trying to make a 1-hour appointment, but they're not using it for those purposes, then we can direct them. This is what we would
Okay.
ask them to do. But if you have a suggestion for a better way to word that.
Well, it just, to me, I just think that you could make the appointment, or if it's not available, you could encourage those users to borrow one. I mean, I would think that that might be something, the way it reads to me is the only ones who get recommended that they might want to borrow a laptop are the recreational users. And I guess you're
I
not.
hear what you're saying. So
Although this is under the category of
I know.
public use procedures for 1-hour computer terminals by appointment.
I know.
we could just say for, I think we can, I hear your feedback.
I mean, I think that the thing maybe to say another alternative, if a 1-hour appointment is not available, is that staff reminds users that they might be able to take one out.
Right. Now, does anybody feel really strongly that we don't need, that we should not be differentiating? You know, making this reservations for educational, employment, social services, medical, civic, legal, and research? Do you think that we should just keep that out and we just have 30-minute terminals and 1-hour terminals by appointment?
That's how I feel. I mean,
That's how I honestly feel that way, because like, who are we to be in the business of deciding? You know, we all have mental health issues as a result of this. And if we need a break to work and relax by playing a video game, I don't know. I don't know that that we should be, your staff should be put in the position of judging what people need. And it seems like it's a lot of effort. And
Well, maybe, although I see Jill's point as well. And, you know, if there's only 2, a big part of that is going to be how much
right, the usage.
how much use you're actually going to get. But should we change in that sentence? Would it be better if we say appointments may be made up to 2 days in advance by Upper Hudson cardholders and are intended for those purposes?
Well, I mean, I think the real
And
question
rewrite the
becomes,
recreational user.
to ask people, and you know, like we talk about, you know, it being a kind of a no judgment zone. You come into a library to use it as you see fit, and all of a sudden, just like we talked about, are we going to ask them for contact tracing to write their name? And we said no. You know, a library is a safe place. You can come, and I guess I kind of feel the same way about this. Is that
I agree, but is this instruction for staff to what to do, or is this to be read by the public to let us know what our thoughts are? Let them know what our thoughts are.
well, isn't it all available to the public anyway, if they want
It
to?
is. See, I'm reading this as if I'm Joe Public looking at, you know, okay, so that's reasonable for needing longer, you do that. So it's intended for those. It's not reserved or required for those. And recreational users should consider the walk-in terminals or borrowing a laptop.
But when I'm looking at it as a procedure, so it's public use procedures for 1-hour computer terminals by appointment. Why would you even have anything
Then it
else
wouldn't be
that's
a procedure, I guess.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's unrelated.
it's the terminology.
Yeah.
So I have an alternative that I just thought of, because we did kind of debate this and staff too, and I think it's a valuable discussion to have, and I appreciate your feedback. And I think maybe we could take out the piece that it needed to be reserved for a specific purpose. And we could get around this if we're finding that there are people who need a computer and they have to wait many days. They're not able to get appointments, that we could reserve certain appointment times. We could, end up reserving, we could internally make those shifts pretty quickly. I mean, you could do it within 2 days if you're only doing 2 days in advance with appointments. We could kind of figure that out internally. Because really it's to make sure that people who really need it for something that's time sensitive could have access, but maybe there's a creative way internally that we could figure that out. We
I think we have to remember that this is for a limited time while we have limited capacity in the library. We're working to get to full capacity, but we need to make decisions on who is, who needs those services most while our capacity is limited.
And we don't really even know what the demand will be.
We don't.
And
That's why we have to remain flexible.
Right. So that's also why, I think this piece is not something that you guys need to really vote on. I think it's really good feedback and input, and we have to remain flexible to be able to just shift and change these procedures as needed, because we could have a public outcry, or we could see a need that we didn't know existed 2 days into this and change and say, well, we need,
Well, I like your solution, Jill. To me, it's I trust that you and the staff can figure it out.
Adapt to meet the needs.
Exactly. And I would rather you do that than that we have all these kind of prescriptions that actually make it harder for staff and less comfortable potentially for patrons. Especially if we don't even know if it'll be an issue.
Right. And then staff wouldn't have to be in the situation where they see somebody playing Candy Crush and have to,
Right. It's
say,
kind of like
oh, you're not supposed to be doing that on this computer. It just feels like a backwards direction for, the welcoming environment that we are, to move in that direction.
And you've always been.
And have always been. And I don't think that's the intention of this at all. I don't think anybody wants to be that way. So we can shift and make that change. I think that's good feedback. Okay.
Do you anticipate a lot of students needing the computers? Are they big users?
I actually don't think so, because at least in East Greenbush schools, every single student has internet right now. If they didn't have a Chromebook, they have a Chromebook, and if they didn't have internet, they have a hotspot. So there's nobody without that technology. So we're actually looking at adults more than students.
And what's interesting is adults have, think about it, adults have not had access to the library's computers now for 8 months. So it will be interesting to see what the demand is, or if in that intervening time they've found other solutions.
Right.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Or if they're really older adults, whether they feel comfortable being inside for an hour.
I think it's the great unknown experiment. We'll see. Patterns are shifting dramatically.
When do the computer loans and the hotspots, they started a couple weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago, and they're all out. So they're going out regularly and coming back.
Okay, are we done with this one?
Yep. So then I do need you to approve these next two documents. Two documents. We have a personnel memo after the reopening plan, although are we on that right now, the reopening? Yes. the reopening plan, and then we'll do the personnel memo after the liaison reports. So we have the reopening safety plan. Blue is the
Changes for this time.
changes for this time. So beginning September 29th, we'll provide limited seating and public computers, face coverings while inside the library, required while inside the library. When outside on library property, face coverings are required when in groups or when social distancing 6 feet is not possible. You'll see, Mary, I took out the encouraged.
Yes.
And added,
Thanks.
okay.
That was a note I had, yeah.
So I did the same thing. Any area where it said face covering, I changed that language there.
Thank you.
Yep, I took out the cohorts because we're at one team now. We've got the let's see, we got rid of grab and go, changed it to 30 minutes instead of 15 to 30 minutes. We added that last time. Staff are required to fill out a daily health screening form online.
Oh,
We changed it already, but that's on there to document it. We had before it was a paper form. Now we've created it to make it online. Added the information about the what we're doing with the hotspots and laptop quarantining. Just changed that information there. We had the quarantine period. We had never updated this piece. Found that piece, made that update. Even though we've been doing 96 hours, we voted this a long time ago, but
Yeah.
somehow we missed this spot here. Just added another job description with what's happening in that space. Job descriptions just updated to add where people are, what people are doing. Added the cash register and the credit card terminals where the hotspots and laptops are quarantined. All job duties there. There's nothing new in here. This is just documenting all of the safety protocols that we are doing. So in August, we transitioned into one team. And I don't think daily health checklist located on the internet. Okay. So that will need to be approved kindly.
So I will entertain a motion to approve the reopening, COVID-19 reopening safety plan as required by New York State as modified 9/22/20.
I'll make the motion.
Shay makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mary seconds. Anybody have any questions? If not, is anybody opposed to approving this? Not hearing anybody, consider it approved.
Thank you. So
Jill?
turn it back to you. Yes.
Yes. I was thinking, well, I was going to just change the order and say, should we quickly cover the personnel memo? And then all we've got left is the liaison reports.
We could if you want to.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay. So we had, these are just some resignations, and we have a termination and a classification change. We have someone who has been, has actually not worked since the shutdown at all, but has decided not to come back. So that's sadly the resignation of Claudia Moore, part-time library clerk. So that's officially a resignation as of August 7th. We did ask everybody who was, if we asked everybody to come back to the building now. And so she works full-time in a school and is not going to be coming back. But, she's working remotely with her job as well. We did have a part-time building maintenance worker that there was a termination effective August 6th. Kyle, who you know, longtime library worker, left with a health issue. It has been back and filled in a number of times for us, substitute, including when Paul's out, he's come in and, you know, filled in for Paul. So when we called him to, you know, say, hey, can you help us out while we post this job? And he said, I'm happy to do it. And so we'd love to have him back. So we do feel like we have now a pretty wonderful maintenance crew. We've got Paul, Kyle, and Rich, 3 great people here that we, knock on wood, are not gonna have any maintenance issues for a while. So I would need a motion to approve, please.
I'll make it.
Okay, Lynn, second.
I'll second it.
Betty. Any discussion? If not, is there anybody opposed? Not hearing anything. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that gets us to the liaison reports. Apologize to Holly and Tom making them wait so long.
Well worth it.
Okay, we have listed the friends, but Liz is still AWOL. We have not been able to get in touch with her. Jill and I discussed it today, and Charlie, who ran for the board and did not get a seat at the last Friends meeting that happened, I understand he was elected vice president. So he's technically the vice president of the Friends. Jill and I are going to reach out to him and see if we can get him to, you know, pick up and with our help, get the Friends going again, because unless somebody else has news.
No, well, I did reach out again to Liz because she emailed to our book club to say she was not going to be involved anymore because she is too busy at work. And I sent her an email in response and I said, Liz, we really need to get the, because she's not responded to me. I said, we really need to get the Friends going again. You have, you know, given what you need to do, but if you aren't able to or interested in continuing, we're going to move ahead. So I did tell her that. And I said, I'd really love to talk to you, even briefly, anytime you have a minute. But I felt like we had to do something.
Yeah,
So
Jill
those
actually
things you
called
find
her
out.
at work.
You what?
Jill actually called her at work, and they said she was there, and she asked for her to call her back, and she never got a call.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
guessing she's crazy because I know she cares about the library, and, you know, so I'm sure she'll understand when we have to.
No, and I just made it really kind of pretty clear that this is the direction we were going to head, you know, and it was nice. It was kind. I said, you know, like, she's given a lot. I would, you know, just the Friends have to move ahead.
Yeah.
So
There are checks that need to be deposited. You know, there are memberships that have come in.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and so Jill and I, we will reach out to Charlie and see if we can get him working on this.
Good.
Okay, that gets us to Holly at the town of East Greenbush.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. I have a few things that I can share with you. We're bringing back the Spotlight on Youth program this fall. We normally do it in the spring, but we postponed it because of the pandemic. So at this time, we're actively seeking nominations from community members, teachers, families, employers. And the Spotlight on Youth it recognizes youth ages 11 to 18, kids that live in the East Greenwich Central School District. They don't have to attend the Central School District. They can go to, private schools also. But we give them recognition for any, special achievements, any special contributions, whether it's sports, to their family, to the community. So we're seeking nominations now. There's a form online. The community services and recreation department, and we're accepting nominations through October 23rd. And after that, we'll be considering and highlighting and making a special recognition ceremony for our youth nominees. And we are also, the town board's meeting October 1st to appoint Assistant Police Chief John Rickard into that position. He's coming to us from Skodak. We haven't had an Assistant Police Chief in many years, so we're adding that position. We authorized the purchase of a drone to assist with when the Albany Hudson Electric Trail is opening, and just to enhance the department's mission of protecting lives. And also, if there, one of the other reasons for purchasing a drone is to assist in missing persons and missing. It allows, it gives us another resource to search and rescue for people. So that's going to be purchased in the next month. And let's see, we're also right now we're looking at grant applications to reestablish our K-9 unit, which in the police department, which was last in operation in 2007. And at that time, the K-9 officer had retired, and the unit, K-9 unit, wasn't continued after that. But we're looking into bringing that back. What else? October 17th, we're having a movie in the park night at Town Park, and there's a capacity limit. I think it's right now it's 50. So if anyone's interested in going to, it is Monsters Inc. Starts at 6 o'clock. There will be food trucks there and things like that. And probably everyone knows that the Albany Hudson Electric Trail is getting close to opening. It is not open yet, but a lot of town residents have already started to use it. But it's targeted for opening. The completion of the project is still November, and everything's on target with that. A lot of signs have been put up. You've probably all seen the signs around where the crossings are on some of the local roadways. And the other thing is we're building a really nice heated bathroom facility at the town park. The old ones have been torn down. The location is being cleared, and hopefully they're going to be they'll be open all winter. So it'll really give us the availability of using the town park throughout the winter as well as the summer. I think that's it for right now.
Okay, well, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Holly? If not, why don't we move on to Tom? How's the county doing?
Hanging in there. Interestingly enough, there we go. Interestingly enough, the county legislature also live streams the meetings on Facebook, but we still haven't done in-person public presentations as of yet, or public coming to the meetings personally. So I'm interested in what you folks end up deciding to do with public attendance and participation at your board meetings. Sherwood Avenue has been finished now, refurbished. So that's been a project that's been in the works for about 16 years, and it's finally been completed. The budget, we're doing pretty well. The sales tax decrease has only been about 6%, which isn't that bad. But again, we have the uncertainty of any kind of federal or state reimbursements that we're looking at in the future. So we, as I mentioned last month, we attended budget hearings, and a lot of the uncertainty is still there because we don't know really what's going to happen at the state and federal level. COVID, knock on wood, seems to have leveled off. We had another day today with no new cases, and generally we've been doing pretty well without having a large array of cases, with the exception of the privately run nursing homes, which have obviously caused some issues and concerns on a statewide level as well. I think that's about it. Any questions or comments?
I got a quick question. SUNY Albany seems to be having a fair number of cases. How are we doing at Hudson Valley? I get all the information from RPI always, so I know what they're doing and how they're going about it. But how's Hudson Valley? Because that's a pretty big group of people.
Knock on wood, no major outbreaks. Again, you don't have dorms at Hudson Valley, so there's a little less of a possibility of a mass infection, but a lot of it's knocking on wood. Hudson Valley had the advantage that they were planning on, even before COVID, of doing more virtual courses and having a lot of things over the computers. So you've had less personal contact. Hudson Valley, you have to check in every day when you come onto campus. You get your temperature taken. It's usually one of the places that you check in is right by the parking garage. So they've been very stringent about who's on campus. So knock on wood, we haven't had any major problems at Hudson Valley yet, but we're keeping a close eye on that as well.
Because RPI
What are you hearing from? And they've been doing relatively well too, correct?
Well, RPI, yeah. For some reason, I got on a mailing list as being a parent, so I get the letters that the parents get every week. I haven't been an RPI student parent for about 15 years, but they actually test twice a week everybody who's on campus. So you go either Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, and get tested. And if you miss it once, you get a warning. If you miss your scheduled time twice, you're gone for the semester.
Wow. Wow.
So they're
Well, that's
pretty
important.
stringent about it.
Yep. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah. Anything else? If not, I'll do Upper Hudson. Upper Hudson, we did have our board meeting. It's still virtual. And I think they're going to continue in that fashion for a while. Upper Hudson is continuing to work with all the libraries on reopening. We look at this and look at our library as, we're the limited hours and, why can't we be open more? We probably are the most forward of all the libraries in Upper Hudson. The other libraries are much further behind us. Big part was our drive-through pickup service is built in. I don't know of any other library that has that. And then just the push we've made to get back to what we're doing. And for the most part, I think it's going very well. But I think we have to continue to remain patient. Upper Hudson, the big issue there is their money is almost all state money. And so they've already received the first 20% cut, which we thought might be coming. And so they have figured out how to weather that. But if there are further cuts coming, they're going to have a tough time. And it remains to be seen what they do. And if you recall, a year ago, when we had the new contract, they decided to set the fees only for the first year because the formula really needed looking at and tweaking. But it's now opened it, and who knows what. I don't think from the executive director standpoint, recommendation to the board, and I'm on the board, was that we really don't think we can put fee increases on the backs of the libraries, because most libraries are really having troubles as well. So waits to be seen what happens there. Oh, the only thing I think, Jill, you're involved or closer to it than I am. I think the only thing they're thinking is they may start adjusting the book delivery service so that some small libraries who are really out there don't get service every day.
And there have been some cuts. So despite there being a 35-day average wait time for our ebooks right now, which is really high, even though every library is putting a lot of money into digital resources right now. Central library money, we spent it for the year with the cut. So that means there's no more nonfiction purchasing happening through Upper Hudson. So those kinds of things will be coming to us, more purchasing. Hoopla, those kinds of things are going to come back into libraries with no funding from Upper Hudson. No state money is going to be going towards that. So we'll see it. We'll see trickle down impacts. And we'll
deal with it.
Cover it. We'll deal with it.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about Upper Hudson? If not, I don't have any other new business at this point. We've been at this for 2 hours, which to me is always the target as maximum end time. So anybody have anything they want to say or comment or anything?
I just had one question for Jill. Jill, did you present our budget request to the town of Stodac? And if so, have you gotten any feedback?
I have not gotten any feedback, but that's very typical. We put together our budget. And yes, I did present that to the town with the other 2 library directors. And so the next step would be for us to put together our draft contract, and that'll be something that the admin committee will be, you'll have a draft to look at.
Did you get any feedback at the meeting?
No, and typically it's just a presentation and there's usually no back and forth, and there was no back and forth. Just thank you for presenting.
Okay.
It's online. I watched
It is online. You can watch it. Actually, the link is in the director's report.
Right.
Okay, anybody have anything else? If not, I'll entertain that most favorite motion.
I'll move.
Nobody wants to make it.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Okay. Anybody dissenting that we approve that motion? So we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Stay safe.